On this week's episode of Bayou Wild TV, there's a lot of Louisiana one can explore in 24 hours or less, so join us as we visit Louisiana's outback. We travel along the Creole Nature Trail in Cameron Parish, stopping along the way to explore wildlife, scenery, and celebrate history. Oh, and do a little fishing too. It's another Bayou Wild adventure that starts in Sportsman's Paradise. Closed captioning is brought to you by Global Outdoors. Find your next adventure and share your experiences with others by downloading the Global Outdoors mobile app or visiting globaloutdoors.com. Every day, we strive to preserve traditions that have spanned generations.
Around every turn of the bayou, Mother Nature reveals unique people, places, and experiences.
And the bounty of animals and fish. Well, in Louisiana, we just call that lagniappe. I'm Don Dubuque.
I'm Chris LeCoq.
I'm Captain Martha Spencer. Join us as we document the adventure,
Sportsmanship,
and heritage that make us Bayou Wild. Today we're traveling down in Cameron Parish. Our final destination of this 24-hour Louisiana travel trip is Hackberry Rod and Gun, where we're going to do some inshore brackish water fishing.
You know, Calcasieu is kind of unique in itself because it's a landlocked lake that's surrounded by hundreds of thousands of acres of marsh, and that estuary feeds the lake.
But along the way, along this Creole Nature Trail, we're going to make several stops, some very beautiful scenery, some interesting sights, and even an auctioneer, so stick around. The Creole Nature Trail Highway is one of very few in the United States. It's actually a loop that circles around Big Lake or Calcasieu Lake, and along the way some beautiful scenery and some very interesting sights to stop by and take in. It's easy to see how one can get lost in their itinerary when planning a trip along the Creole Nature Trail. It's 180 miles of road winds through small towns, beaches, coastal wetlands, wildlife refuges, rippling marshes, and scenic boardwalks. It's sometimes described as one of America's untamed natural wonders, with stops along the way of picturesque beauty and historical significance.
Today we're celebrating 100 years of Rockefeller Refuge being donated to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
If you travel along this highway, along the Gulf, or along the Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge, you'll see these beautiful, majestic oaks here on the auctioneer. Now, not only are these oaks providing food for wildlife, but because they're on a little bit higher ground, they also provide some protection from storm surge. And they also are a great place to put a road, hunting and fishing camps, and maybe a home. Whenever I'm passing through or stopping in southwest Louisiana, I always try to stop at Hackberry Rod and Gun. Oh, good save!
And you didn't want the net.
Coming up, they say there's a shortage on flounder, but not in Hackberry, not today.
Not today. We got them going.
Become a supporter of the Louisiana Wildlife Agents Association today by visiting supportlwaa.org. Browse the selection of exclusive gear, including t-shirts in a variety of colors and styles, plus hats, koozies, and more. Gear up today and support the LWAA.
One of the reasons why Double D has been around for 50 years is because we are consistent with what built the business. And we go to great lengths to make sure that when you bring a deer or a hog or whatever it may be, your meat stays your meat all the way through the process. But we want to be as true to the original intent, which is a local meat company. And that's something that we want to maintain for as long as the Lord lets us do it.
You're watching Bayou Wild TV, award-winning outdoor programming. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or visit the website BayouWildTV.com to watch past episodes. There's no better way to serve perfect crawfish than with King Cooker's wide variety of high-jet burners, boiling pots, straining baskets, seafood paddles, and check out King Cooker's special serving tables and trays. Make your seafood boil party easy and perfectly tasty. Find a retailer near you or go to kingcookerwithak.com and use discount code DDKK23 and save on your King Cooker products. That's kingcooker.com, discount code DDKK23. Well, we just waited out a little frontal system, a late frontal system that kind of moved up from the Gulf and kind of left us with a little bit of window of opportunity before the next batch gets here. What are we going to do today, Kurt?
We're going to head in the marsh. We're going to see if this weather hope it didn't mess them up. I don't think it will for where we're going. And we'll get back here and see if we can bang some in the marsh.
Need to find clean water.
You got to find some clean water.
We'll hunt for it. We woke up this morning to a horrendous thunderstorm, but it moved off pretty quickly. We decided to try to make a sneak out, and one of the really good things about fishing in the Big Lake Calcasieu area is there's such diverse habitat. You can get back in the marsh and get out of the rough, dirty water when necessary, but it's also there with a lot of reef fishing and also some shoreline fishing too.
You know, Calcasieu is kind of unique in itself because it's a landlocked lake that's surrounded by hundreds of thousands of acres of marsh. And that estuary feeds the lake. And I started guiding in 1979. And I've seen a lot of changes over the year. I've seen changes in habitat, which is probably our biggest issue nowadays. This spring is the first spring in 5 years we haven't been flooded out.
We started off going through one of the weirs off of the ship channel into the marsh, found some clear water, and first fish of the day was a flounder, which was really a blessing. Oh, good, good save!
And you didn't want the net.
Well, Captain Kirk wanted to put $1 on the first fish, and I kind of hesitated for a minute, and I said, after this one bit, I said, well, I think it was 20 is what I heard. But he called the fish. He said, right where you cast, right there along that shoreline there, you might get a flounder. And sure enough, we got a flounder. Now the flounder is a highly sought after fish, but they're not very easy to target. And lately we've been getting some reports, Wildlife and Fisheries that says that along with speckled trout, we've got a severe decline in the population of flounder. And if something isn't changed, we might have to make some changes in the regulations, although they say it's not overfishing, it's environmental and habitat problems.
But I attribute it to the floods. I really think that's had a lot to do with the speckled trout fishing and the flounder fishing over the last 5 years. And but we've had a great spring this year on flounder.
But today there was no problem. We found some very nice flounders. Another flounder in the net. Where is it? And occasionally you will find flounders here in the Calcasieu area, as you will in the Pontchartrain estuary. But the flounders are always welcome in our boat and also in Kirk Stansel's boat.
Yeah, it still produces good speckled trout, without a doubt. I mean, like right now, I've seen one almost 7 pounds come to the dock this spring. Quite a few 4 and 5 pounders, which is a nice trout anywhere you go. But we don't see the big ones like we saw back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Baby, fish on.
Let's see. There's some case. Oh, that's a trout. We don't need no net on him.
Okay.
He's good.
All right.
He was impersonating a flounder.
Hey, you're a
You know what the
proud man.
penalty for that is?
What?
Death. Death by Crisco. And then picking up speckled trout, a nice amount of speckled trout throughout the day. First of all, we were finding them where there was some moving water around some points. Then we started looking for birds, found the telltale birds, giving away the speckled trout, made a couple of quick casts, and made a real nice fill in the ice chest today.
These birds are going down right over here. There's trout chasing shrimp to the surface. The birds are getting the shrimp that the trout are chasing up. So shrimp doesn't stand a chance. And we should get in there. It ought to be some hot and heavy action. If you see birds working, you know there's fish there. But I prefer artificial, especially spring, early summer. Now, when you get into June, July, when it gets real hot, a lot of times you need bait to catch the fish. Generally in spring through the early summer, and then in the fall, starting in September when the shrimp migration starts in late September through October, November. That's and the birds are chasing. They're after the shrimp that the fish are chasing to the surface of some kind. Now you got to, me being on the water every day, I know what areas where there's smaller ones, where the nicer ones are, where there's gaff top, where there's not. So I have a tendency to pass a lot of birds up that people want me to stop and fish, but I know that area, chances are it's going to be what you don't want.
Hackberry Rod and Gun is an institution here in the Calcasieu Big Lake area. Terry Shaughnessy was the founder, and his son-in-law, Kirk Stansel, and his brothers have really turned this into one of Louisiana's premier facilities, not just for fishing, but a lot of duck hunting too.
And in 1978, he leased his first duck land and started with 5 blinds that year. In '79 is when I just decided I was having more fun fishing than going to school. So I started fishing every day, and we started 2 boats, and then we got more duck blinds, more duck property, and so today, we're hunting right at 12,000 acres total. We hunt 15 duck blinds on it, have 15 full-time guides, and that's where we are today. It's still a family business.
Their motto reads, "You should have been here yesterday." But in truth, every day is a great day when visiting a family-owned sporting haven like Hackberry Rod and Gun. For 49 years, people have been flocking to what's touted as the speckled trout capital of the world. But as time went on, the lodge evolved into a duck hunter's dream destination.
That's what we do. We love what we do, and we've been doing it a long time, and I love my job.
And it's not just Louisianians that stop by here. They'll get an awful lot of traffic out of neighboring Texas because it's so close, and we've got such great fishing and hunting.
But if you learn the reefs in the open water on your calm days, where you get out there and fish, That's the best way to fish Calcasieu, the open water reefs. Or hire a guide. They can show you some spots and show you some techniques, because everywhere you go on the coast, it's a different technique. It's effective, and we get a lot of guys in Texas that come over here, and their techniques aren't as effective, just for whatever reason. I guess maybe it's the way we do it. We're confident in it. Texans do love to wade fish now. They came over here and showed these coonasses something.
Delta Marina is Plaquemines Parish fishing one-stop. Get live bait, fuel, ice, tackle, and marine supplies. Then launch into the world's most productive saltwater fishing. Return to the fishing cleaning station, relax in first-class cabins overlooking the bayou, all in Delta Marina's safety video-monitored parking lot. Need a fishing charter guide? Delta Marina can hook you up. Cook your catch in your kitchenette or dine in the upstairs restaurant. Visit Delta Marina for a day or a week. Stop in just off Highway 11 down Rosemarie Drive in Empire. Visit thedeltamarina.com.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.
I'm Meredith Pelche from Thibodaux, Louisiana, and I won this boat from CCA Star in their raffle drawing. I love to fish, probably since I was about 5-6 years old. Oh, I'm very excited. It was totally unexpected.
Become a supporter of the Louisiana Wildlife Agents Association today by visiting supportlwaa.org. Browse the selection of exclusive gear, including t-shirts in a variety of colors and styles, plus hats, koozies, and more. Gear up today and support the LWAA. We're driving right now along the Creole Nature Trail Highway. And as you can see, we're coming through some beautiful marsh. This is kind of an intermediate marsh. I wouldn't call it exactly fresh, but there's a lot of familiar freshwater vegetation that you see in it. And the closer we get to the Gulf of Mexico, which is not that far away, it'll turn into some saline marshes and then finally beaches and then the offshore salt water of the Gulf of Mexico. I'm standing on the narrow strip but high ground of an oak chenier. This is part of the Creole Nature Trail. This chenier, although not very wide, runs parallel to the shoreline of the Gulf of Mexico. If you look just to the south, you'll see flat marsh. But right here are some majestic oaks that for over a century have withstood the test of some vicious storms.
We continue our journey down the Creole Nature Trail, an area rich with wildlife. Here at Rockefeller Refuge, a commitment to conservation was made over a century ago, a commitment that is still in effect to this day.
Today we're celebrating 100 years of Rockefeller Refuge being donated to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
In the early 1900s, famed businessman and conservationist E.A. McElhinney became interested in 86,000 acres of property in Vermilion and Cameron parishes, where he had a vision of creating a wildlife refuge.
I think if he were here, he would be incredibly proud of what the Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge has meant not only to the state of Louisiana, to the local community, not only to conservation efforts in the area, but really conservation efforts on a worldwide level.
So E.A. McElhinney got the Rockefellers to purchase the property and then donate it to the state of Louisiana, which was the Conservation Commission back then, which is now known as Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries.
Because 100 years ago, there were not a lot of people with that kind of conservation pioneering vision to recognize that resources are not unexploitable, and there is a finite amount of resource, and that we do have impacts on those resources.
Of all the bountiful, shrimp, crabs, the birds, the ducks, alligators, it's just such a productive area that we have on this property. It just makes it a crown jewel for the state of Louisiana.
Today, Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge additionally serves as an outdoor laboratory for research on marsh management, wildlife, and fisheries.
I have 15 different impoundment complexes where we can manage water levels, we can manage salinity, and by being able to manage, we can even further increase wildlife populations on this refuge.
And people who come here and visit do the same thing. They fall in love with it.
It's a recreational outlet for wildlife watchers, tourists, and all who appreciate nature.
Citizens of Louisiana can come here with their families, and that's the opportunity I think we oftentimes don't take advantage of.
In Louisiana, food brings everyone together. These are the flavors that make friends out of total strangers. The flavors that remind you of home. It's the meals you crave, that take time, that show love. Because in Louisiana, we cook. And we know that when we come together to cook and eat, life gets better. So pull up a chair, leave room for seconds, and pass a good time. Because life needs Louisiana flavor, baby.
Some things in life smell delicious. Others, not so much. Like a gas leak. Propane, for instance, is naturally odorless. That's why we add strong odorants to alert you if there is a leak. So if you ever smell gas, turn your system off at the tank and call your propane dealer immediately. Propane is a safe and exceptional fuel, and we want to keep it that way.
We're in our new season of Bayou Wild TV, and that means new merchandise. Head on over to BayouWildTV.com for t-shirts, hoodies, and performance shirts, featuring scenes taken directly from our shows.
Our 24-hour trip to Louisiana's outback is a reminder of the adventure, sportsmanship, and heritage found every day in our own backyard.
Now, while we don't get out to this part of the state as often as we'd like, we're certainly going to try to get back here. If not for another fishing trip, certainly be back during the duck season because we're looking forward to another great hunt like last year.
We leave wanting more, wanting to see more wildlife, explore more remote areas, and catch more fish. The more we venture out into different areas of Louisiana, the more we are reminded why we truly love this outdoor paradise that we call a Bayou Wild home.
Bayou Wild TV was a creation of course, three people, myself, Chris Lecoq, who is our producer, editor, and co-host Martha Spencer, and each of us contributes something to it. And our logo, our slogan kind of says it all: sportsmanship, adventure, and heritage.
I love living in Louisiana because the whole Cajun culture is just based around being outside. People in Louisiana take pride in living off the land, and that goes back into family heritage, cooking, survival. With Bayou Wild, we've been able to not only do all these activities, but also see some of the history behind them.
Well, video gets more competitive every single day because everybody out there can take a video with their phone, they can use a GoPro. Video is becoming much more consumer and not professional anymore. So I'm always trying to challenge myself with thinking of different ways to set myself apart from just anybody else who can pick up a camera, shoot a video, and put it on YouTube.
Look, CCA Louisiana has been a sponsor of the Bayou Wild show, but mainly it's a partnership. Between Don, Martha, Chris, the whole team, they're great promoters of what we do because they believe in it. They're engaged, they know what they're doing, and they know how to get the message across.
There's a lot of fabulous chefs and cooks and home cooks in Louisiana that inspire me every single day. But the topics I speak about, the ingredients and the recipes, the stories I tell, come from people like Don Dubuque and all of those wonderful people I've met along the way. I didn't come up with them myself. You might want to take a piece of that.
Well, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
Whoa! Drive by. Whether it's been an excursion to another state or at home, it shows me why people like to come to Louisiana. The things that we do for fun are literally bucket list trips for other people.
And so I guess that's where I find my inspiration. I'm always trying to push myself further than I did before. So I'm always trying to maybe raise the bar for the story that I'm trying to tell through video.
But really what we're showcasing is the culture, the heritage, the people, and the resources of Louisiana and the Gulf Coast.